Hi class. As you get started this week, you'll probably notice that we're already moving on to another essay. So you're going to be starting your persuasive essay this week, and it's going to be really important that you take time to read through these instructions very carefully. So I'll go through and highlight some of the most important elements, but I want you to take some time and do the same. So you'll notice the length. It's a pretty lengthy essay, so that means you need to get started right away. You're going to need to choose a controversial topic that you feel passionately about. You want to sway your readers to see things your way, right? So you want to convince them or persuade them to defend your position, right? And you will do that by using all of those persuasive techniques that you probably started to learn about in high school and we'll dig a little bit more into as we work through this essay. So you'll use persuasive appeals. You probably heard of ethos, logos, and pathos. We will talk about those. You will use outside sources using the MCC online library databases, and you'll also use the way your sentence structure, your format, your professionalism, all are going to be factors in this essay. So your grading will be based on the following, so you can read through that. And then your paper guidelines are here. So you'll notice that this paper is set up with following MLA formatting. It's got the nice heading over here, header in the corner, student's last name and page number, the title. And notice that the font is Times New Roman 12. You'll notice that the paragraph spacing is double here. There are some rules that you must follow when writing this essay. You may not use any personal pronouns at all. Do not use the words I, you, we, us. Do not use words like things or stuff, right? You want to be very specific with your language when writing on this particular kind of essay. And also, you don't want to start a sentence with this, that, those, these, or it. I also might include they. You want to be specific and let us know what you're talking about instead of using those words. Quotes cannot stand alone as sentences. If you do this, they are considered dropped quotations, and that is a big no-no. You'll talk a lot about that in English 102 as well, so this is good prep for that. So, when you're introducing a quote, you'll want to start with a signal phrase, letting your reader know who wrote it, where it came from. It provides credibility to the quotation, provides credibility to yourself as you are saying to your reader, I've done my research, I've done my due diligence, this is where it came from. Do not use any exclamation points unless they're part of a quote. It's just not necessary for this type of writing. Books, plays, and larger works are italicized, so these are titles. So titles of books, plays, and longer works are italicized. Short stories, poems, journal articles, and shorter works are in quotations. Each body paragraph must contain about 2 to 4 quotes, and each quote must be discussed. So you do not want to get in too much of a rush and just start dropping quotes into your paragraphs. As support, you need to make sure that you're using your own language and describing and detailing the reason why you've included that quotation, how it supports your overall thesis. Each paragraph should be able to stand alone, so you will use topic sentences, and those are like mini thesis statements, and then everything in that paragraph should support that topic thesis statement. So essentially, you could pull it out of your essay, and it would read kind of like a little mini essay. So think about that as you're writing. You'll obviously need to proofread. All papers must be original, obviously. I scan everything through several AI sites, so make sure that you do not use any AI in this class. You will receive a 0 with no chance to revise. So, in conclusion, a phrase I never want to hear, do not use in conclusion. You do not need it. Follow these guidelines, and you will start off with a very good place for your essay. So underneath the instructions, you will notice this list here. This is not a list of topics that you can choose. This is a list of topics that you may not choose. So do not, under any circumstances, write about any of these topics. It is not because I have strong opinions about all of these topics and am unable to grade an essay properly or fairly, I guess. It is because I have read so many essays on all of these topics. And so I really want you to steer away from these. They've been overdone and overdone and overdone. So try to choose something that's a little bit more original. Okay, so after you decide on a topic, then you develop a thesis statement, right? So the thesis in a persuasive essay is simply your opinion, which can be supported by research, right? So you have to make sure that you can support it. So the topic here, you'll notice animal testing is one you cannot choose. I do a lot of examples about animal testing. So the topic is animal testing, and here's a possible thesis statement. Animal testing should be illegal in the United States. There is my opinion, right? Boom. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it is cruel and inhumane to experiment on animals. The testing is irrelevant because certain medicines that are safe for animals are not safe for humans. And alternative methods are available to researchers that can replace animal testing. So you notice that this thesis statement shapes my entire essay, right? I'm taking a stand on a controversial topic, and I'm already including the reasons, which is going to be those main ideas, that main support for my thesis statement. So, and there's some ideas here too if you're struggling to come up with a good topic. If you're like, oh, I really wanted to write on social media. Well, I'm sorry you can't. So go ahead and look at this list. This will give you some ideas and maybe get the juices flowing a little bit. So here's some possible thesis ideas for you. Notice that they're just the opinion. They don't state the why. Right? So if I'm saying here, like, dating apps don't work, well, we're missing the why, right? You have to include that here as to be able to shape your essay. Catcalls should be illegal. Why? You have to expand on this, right? Dress codes reinforce bias against women. How? How do they do that, right? So you have to add on to what's already here, but these at least will get you started thinking if you're kind of stuck. So the essay will be completed in stages. It's going to move quickly because we're in summertime, so you don't get a lot of time. But this week, your whole agenda is to come up with this really solid thesis statement. I'm going to give feedback on this really quickly so that if you need to revise, you can revise before next week when you submit your outline. If you do not receive a perfect score on this assignment, that means some revision is necessary. You must revise in order for me to accept the outline, right? So we're working through in stages. So if you need revisions on one stage, you can't move on to the next. So make sure to read my feedback. And if you do need to revise, just go ahead and email me that revision as soon as you are able. You'll also notice that at the bottom here it says feel free to type your topic choice and thesis statement in the submission box below. You can do that this time. You do not need to upload a document. You can just simply type in, just like here, your topic choice and your possible thesis statement. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.